We're going to jump into this right away and talk about dashboards. I have to tell you, when this feature came out with SmartOffice, and it's been a while now, for me, it was a game changer. I mean, everything I do or work with in SmartOffice, I actually look at through the eyes of when I was working in agencies and how exactly would I have used it had I had this software back then. And I can remember that first day thinking, oh boy, this is finally going to give me some capabilities and flexibility in being able to really see what's going on and watching over our clients. So I think you'll find this hopefully to be a very interesting hour that we're going to cover. We're going to cover 3 sections that I feel you need to know to understand dashboards. The first one will be the structure, how to create and what it actually does. Then we're going to talk about content, ideas about designing and having really effective use of dashboards. There's no sense having a bunch of tabs with a whole bunch of reports if you really can't use that information in your day-to-day operations and use it very effectively. And then we're also going to talk about what I call the cute and quirky side of dashboards. Every module has them, every software has them, but they certainly don't diminish the capability and the power of using the dashboards. So let's first of all talk about that structure, because there's a couple of ways that you can create dashboards. First of all, you should know dashboards themselves. To be able to create a dashboard is a user right that the SmartOffice administrator in your office has the ability to decide who should and maybe who shouldn't be creating dashboards. And for those of you that are administrators on the phone, if you're not really familiar with using these homepage dashboards, that's a good thing to have that control. The last thing you need is everybody creating dashboards and sharing them all over the office, and then it's just nothing but chaos. So you can decide how that should be delegated inside your office structure. Now, when I talk about there's a couple of ways to do it, I'm going to admit that I'm biased in the way I do certain things, even with dashboards, and I'm unabashedly going to tell you about that as well, but also why. Let's talk about looking at it just at the home page. Now you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, let me get rid of the new tab. I was playing with something for a client a little bit earlier. Let me get rid of that. There. So now I have, I think, what, 6 tabs sitting on my home page. And at the very far right, there is a green plus sign, the good old green plus signs. Heaven knows it's all over the place in SmartOffice. But this one is what allows you to kind of do it this way. Now you can click, but notice first, what does the field say? The field says tab name. And if you want to create a new tab with a name of your own choosing, you can just select that one and click create. But down below, it's going to show you any of the dashboards that have been created already. Anything in blue, which is a hyperlink, those are created by Ebix. And if I choose one like Annuities Genius, you'll notice down below in the portlets, it will show you the different reports that are on that particular tab. Now, if I scroll down in the upper area, you'll notice that I start getting into these self-created dashboards, if you will. But again, if I click on one, it's going to open up and show me what, if anything, report or multiple reports are on that particular dashboard. So in this case, just to give you an idea of how this works, I'm going to click on the blank tab, and I'm just going to go ahead and click create. All right, here's where we start getting into the intricacies of working with these tabs. And again, I'm going to use the word tab a little bit. You have some options here. First of all, you have a dynamic report, and obviously those are reports created in SmartOffice. You can also do HTMLs. Oh, it even gives you an extreme caution message. So make sure you read these, because sometimes websites, external websites, can have restrictions or limitations on what they allow you to do with adding it to something like another software program. So keep that one in mind. I can go to what they call an RSS. And I always have to look up what that means. And what that means is there are certain websites that'll let you know when there's updated news that's breaking or has been added to the site. So that's that. And you can also do what we call an image, which basically means you can get some sort of image that's on a website someplace else. And of course, in those areas, you would just need to know the URL address, etc. But let's face it, for the most part, for probably the largest majority, we have dynamic reports sitting on this home page. So I'm going to go back to that one. Now, when that happens, then it starts giving you the dynamics of what you can select. And this is not my favorite way of doing a dashboard, a tab. It's not. And it has to do with dynamic reports. And I'll explain that in a little bit. Here you can click on the hyperlink and it's going to take you, and you'll see the different reports that you can go into, and you can search for the report you're looking for. Now, I rebooted my machine right before I came into the session today because I've been all over the place this morning, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have anything clogging the arteries to try to get to SmartOffice very smoothly and quickly. So sometimes you'll see recently visited reports down below here. Do not choose any of them from this method of putting it on a tab/dashboard. It won't work. It's just the way it is. You have to search for the report that you're looking for or that you're going to put on a tab, and then select that. That is the way to do it here correctly. And for those of you that are very familiar with SmartOffice, that's not the only place where you can't choose those. Little sidebar. On a page layout, if you're going to add a dynamic report, you cannot select the recently visited ones. It'll show you all like the last half dozen maybe reports that you have selected sometime during your previous session. So you just select it from there, and then you've got layout options. Half width left, half width right, full width top, full width bottom, entire tab. What this means is you can lay them out the way that works best for you. If you know your report could end up being a very long report, especially if you're doing like calendar reports or client tracking or specialized modules like the policy module or the opportunity module, that can really turn into a very long report. My theory is if it's got a lot of data, a lot of columns, and a lot of rows, think about using up the entire tab. It just means when you're going to add another report at some point, it won't make that tab available to you. That way, you've got the whole screen to work with all that information that you're working with. I just find it easier. But again, this is really up to how you want to do that. Now, when I say that's not my favorite reason for doing it, it isn't. And here's why. If you've ever worked with me before, you've probably heard me say, if I have to do more than 3 clicks, well, 3 clicks is great to get to what I need to do. 5 clicks, okay, but we're starting to push it a little bit. 7 or more, it starts to getting to be annoying. And the lesser amount of clicks I have to do, the better I like it. So when I'm going to take a report and put it on this homepage on a dashboard, I do it the good old-fashioned way. I go to reports, dynamic reports. I create the report. I run the report, and that's where my emphasis is, because so many reports have more than 50 records, and we know SmartOffice pauses at 50. I want all of my results before I put that report on the homepage, because that way, that tab, that dashboard will always have all of those reports or all of those rows and lines of data sitting on that report. I don't have to click view more every single time. I want to see what's on that report. So that's why I go the way I go. Now, what happens if you start off with less than 50 results and then put it on the homepage? If you go over 50, will they show up? No. I wish. Maybe I think I put that on my next wish list for things I'd like to see on dashboards, but it doesn't. Then what do? Do I just live with the annoying view more because I now have more than 50 results and I have to click it? No. I will delete that report off that tab. I'll go back and run it again and get them and then put it back on. Couple extra clicks, but then it doesn't annoy me every time I'm looking at it. So use the plus sign in the upper right, excuse me, or do it the old-fashioned way. Create your report, run your report, view more if it's more than 50, and then put it on the tab on the home page. But I want to talk about one more thing before we start looking at the content. When you're creating reports and putting them on tabs, consider making your report private inside the report module. That way other people can't modify that report, because you can modify reports that are on tabs. I love doing that. If I'm creating a bunch of reports, I know it's going to take me a while because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to have to do to make it work. I put it on a tab, and that's my working tab. Fix it until I get it right. But if I don't privatize it and someone goes into reports and they go, oh, I like that report, I'll run that report, but I want to change that report. Well, unless I privatize it, that's going to change my report on my tab and anybody else that's ran that report and put it on a homepage tab. So keep that in mind. It's just a little bit of a tidbit that can really make a difference in the way nothing changes the way it's supposed to. What they'll do is they'll say it's a read only, but they can copy that report. Then it becomes their report because it's created by them, that copy. And then they can do what their little heart desires. Okay, now the good part. How to decide what information to put on a homepage tab on a dashboard. Because I have a definition that I always tell people. To decide if it belongs on your homepage, it should be extremely important. The data should be current, and it should be always at your fingertips. Those are the three things I look for when I decide, or if I'm helping a client create reports to put on their dashboard. Important, current, always available at your fingertips, primarily because these reports are always running. So if anyone is in the SmartOffice database in your office and anything they're doing has an effect on these reports because of the filters that are deciding the results of the report, I know I can go to my homepage, look at that tab, and I will have the most current data of that moment that's in SmartOffice. And that's when you start thinking, how can I effectively really use this? Your homepage should be more than just data on a screen. In the world that I live in, it should be a worksheet. It should be where you can get things done. You can use your worksheet and get to client records or get to the opportunity module or look at the complete information if you're missing it. I don't want to see, oh, here, I need Jennifer Sweet Pickle's record, then I have to go up and search for. I don't want to have to do that. I want to get to it. That's the beauty of these dashboards, of this homepage. Now, when I was showing you to use the plus sign, remember I said the blue ones, these were from Ebix. Here's an example of one. I put the market pulse on there. And as you can see, it has some of those feeds on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, it has one of a dynamic report that is looking for client money per stock holding. And this one happens based on my data in my database here, my demo database. There's an IBM. So it's nice. It combines things of outside of SmartOffice to see the power of the integration with the websites. And yet it looks at my data for some practical information that would kind of apply to this as well. So think about that. There's a new one that they put on there recently. It's called Annuities Genius. And I was working with a client last week and he goes, oh, what's that one? So we put it on there and they go, they liked it. They loved it. They can get right to the website from here. And then I noticed on the right-hand side, they have 3 dynamic reports. Yes, they do. Now, nothing in my database populates the second and the third report, and that's okay. But I was looking at the top one. When I say effective use of a dashboard, I would make some changes to that report. And these little icons over here allow you to do that. These work within each individual, what they call a portlet here. If I have a report that's showing me all the clients I have that have investments but no annuities, okay, this is a marketing call. This is a marketing email. This is a reach out and say, hey, let's talk about annuities. So-and-so has a brand new annuity, whatever. But I can't do that with the way the report looks right now. I'd have to go into Shelley Ackerman's record to get her phone number, or Jenny Sweet Pickles, or Christina Petrie's, based on what shows here. What would I do? I'd change the report. I'd go in there and I'd modify the report. Now, if it's a read only, it shouldn't let me do it, but I can go find the report, make a copy of it, and then change it and put it here instead of the one that's there. What would I add? Phone numbers. I would add their preferred email address. I put their date of birth on there because what happens if I call them about an annuity and their birthday's this week, or worse yet, it's the birthday that day and I didn't recognize it. So when you're looking at reports to put on these dashboards, make sure they're more than just data. Think of them as worksheets. That is something you have to really pull in with you. That way, this becomes a very vital part of everything you're doing on a daily basis. So that's one idea there. Let's take a look at something else I like to point out. I'm going to go to the good old data integrity. Everybody touts data integrity. And I did a video on the newsletter called, I think, I don't remember what I call it, but it has to do with that. I think every field in SmartOffice is a VIP field. I do. Because every piece of data you have gives you a reason to reach out and touch that prospect or that client or that center of influence, because you never know what you're going to hear about in the general world. Even if I have clients that I know have children, but I don't know how many they have. Let's say something new comes on the horizon for funding college education. I'll put a report that says who have children. I'll put 99 children in there. That tells me, yes, they have children. 99 tells me they probably don't have that many. But see, I'm going to use a field, even if I don't have the exact data, I will put something in that will remind me that yes, they have that, but I don't have the accurate data. So think about things like that. Now, here's another thing to think about with when you're creating reports for your dashboards. I have two dashboards or two reports here. One on the left-hand side says missing Social Security or date of birth. And the one on the right-hand side is clients with no activities past 90 days or longer. I'm going to go in and do a little bit of a modification on this report over here because I'm going to make a point. I'm going to take out the type contains client, and I'm just going to look for anyone who has no birth date or no Social Security number. And if you look down at the very bottom, I created the report, I ran the report, it had more than 50, I viewed more, brought it all up, and that's when I put it on the tab. So when I removed that filter in there, I jumped from 20 to 279. I have seen data integrity reports with literally thousands of people on the report. How many of you are going to look at a report that has what I would consider an unmanageable amount of records? It would be, well, okay, yeah, I'll look at that later. Or I might pull a file and I'll fill in whatever's missing, and yeah, they'll disappear from the report. But report that have so much data that you can't, it's not something you have to have every single moment. Break it down. Now, if you're looking at pending cases, or if you're looking at people that are in your opportunity pipelines and you've got a bunch in there, well, narrow it down. Look at a single pipeline instead of all of your pipelines. Look at people that are in certain stages instead of every stage. You have to be able to make it workable. But for those of you that can handle a ton of data at one time, I salute you, because I would never do it. So what I wanted to do when I was looking at this earlier is I thought, I'm going to narrow it down. I don't want 279 people. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to revise this filter. And this also proves the point why you might want to make the ones that you're doing private. So I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm just going to say contains client. And click OK and click finish. And now I have 20. I can handle 20. I can probably whip those out if I had a half hour or 45 minutes or something to take a look at what I don't have, or pull an application or something and get the information I'm looking for. Because as I fill in things, let's just go with this financial DD who is missing a birth date. Not missing both, just the birth date. So I'm going to give it a birth date of, let's say 1/1/1990. And I'm going to save it. And you go, you're probably going to go, what is she doing? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. In the olden days, when they first started doing some of these features, sometimes you had to click more than once to be sure it took it. Well, I still do that. Now, some reports will automatically refresh, but not all of them. It depends on the report. And if it doesn't, you can refresh your screen up there at the top. You can go back to hit the home page, or you can do, I call it my little yin and yang. And now I went from, oh, I was missing a social security number. See what happens? I'm going to go put the social security number in. 123334567. And that is a way to catch yourself. So believe it or not, I actually did this on purpose. I wanted to make sure that you understand sometimes when it doesn't work the way you think it is, chances are you missed something. And what did I miss? I missed that it was missing a social security number. And why did? Because I saw this other number over there and thought, oh, wait a minute, that's really the phone number. Now let me do it. Now I went from 20 to 19. But see, it's a worksheet. I was able to go right into that record, fill in the missing data, and now I only have 19 to worry about. So it's not only data that is displayed, it's a worksheet that you can use very effectively when it comes to why you want to use these dashboards. Now, we're going to come back to the data integrity in a moment, but I want to show you another one because this one's very important as well. Sometimes these dashboards allow you to look at the exact same data in different views. Now, in this case, I have 3 tabs up there that read Demo Pipeline Staff, which is shared. And by the way, shared means I have opened it up to everyone who signs into this database. That's what shared means. I have a demo pipeline for the advisor and the demo pipeline for management. Same data in my opportunity module, but each member of my hierarchy looks at it differently. Let's start at the top. My management people, and sometimes this is usually like your registered user, your CEO, CFO, COO, your office manager, whatever. What do they want to know is going on with the pipelines? Well, on the left-hand side, the very first one is a goal chart. Oftentimes firms or even individual advisors at the beginning of the year or towards the end of the current year will say, okay, what am I hoping to do? What am I going to accomplish next year? These are the goals I've set for myself. So in this case, management said, all right, we're looking at potential revenue coming through these pipelines of $1.5 million. And we're at $1,264,500. So we're at 84% of our goal. That's important to them. They need to know how that income is coming in, because they pay the bills, they pay the salaries, and they have to know, are they on track? They hope to put 150 people through these pipelines, but they've only done 22. So on the one hand, it's not as great as they would like it to be as far as processing people through one of the pipelines. But on the other hand, these 22 people, between them have produced $1,264,000. So it's a good news and kind of bad news, because yeah, they were hoping to be more in balance, which means if they can get those numbers up, think what that would do to the potential revenue and how far over the goal that they set. So that's important for management to be aware of. Now down here on my management tab, it's looking at all of my pipelines that have demo in the name. And it says, I wonder how many we have in each of the, 5 pipelines that we have going. And it tells you there's 5 in the client review, 5 in new business investment, 5 in the orphan outreach program, 1 in life, and 6 in investment. So it tells them how this breaks down. But for management, that's just what they need. They just need the top level numbers and how it's affecting the workflow in the agency. Now, on the right-hand side, I have some actual results, the data itself. For instance, in the first one, on the opportunity pipeline, this is our the template that I use. I have this one coming in sorted by the owner. And in this case, I'm the owner of these cases. Maybe I'm the primary advisor and I've been designated the owner. Maybe I'm the staff person that was designated as owner because that represents who's working the cases and getting them through. And what I want to know is, okay, Elizabeth Temple, here's my potential revenue. These are my estimated close days. I don't see a whole lot going on there. Look how long they've been sitting in this pipeline. And this is why they're there. The opportunity name, and we'll do webinars on that, and for both the newsletter, maybe live as well. I think that's the most important field when you put someone into a pipeline. Why are they in that pipeline? Obviously, I'm going to have somewhat of a chat with the managing director or my supervisor or whomever, because they wanted to know who's got what where, how long has it been sitting there, and why isn't it moving? Down here, this report is looking at a very specific piece of my pipelines. Who's in a holding status? So this isn't just, again, it's not just data. It's saying who's in this hold status, why are they in a hold status, what can we do to get them out of hold status and moving forward. So efficient, effective, and very informative and important information on my dashboards. But in all cases, now if I jump over to the advisor, all the advisor wants to know is, and again, I have these things kind of split. You might not like the way the page looks, it's too much clutter. You don't have to have it. I probably wouldn't have this much sitting on a single tab. I like things very clean and succinct and, you know, narrow, narrow fields. But here, he wants to know is by each process, each pipeline, who's in that pipeline? And down here, so here's my investment, here's my orphan outreach, here's my new business investment, my client review. So I have 4 pipelines that I have people in, and I want to know who's in each pipeline. But at the same time, that's lovely. But I also have a lot of clients that we do multiple pipelines with. So the report on this dashboard, this side, is going to sort by the individual name. Like Shelly Ackerman, she has 2. Let's see who else has a couple in here. I think I have more than one. Thought I did, maybe I don't. Oh, Jonas Sweet Pickle. He's in there in 3 different pipelines. So I can look at it at the individual contact or client level, and I can look at it at the various pipeline level. Effective, informative worksheets, because I can get right into that process. I can get right into that record right from my homepage here. Now, I know you're probably wondering, so you haven't shown us how to create the dashboard. We'll get to that, because I have one more thing I want to talk to you about, because the real importance is about how you're going to use them. Develop a plan of action. I'm on my data integrity, and if you look on the right-hand side, it says clients with no activities past 90 days or longer. We've all been there. We know it. Our days, we don't sit around from noon until 3 with our feet up, you know, a Diet Coke, a thing of French fries, and chat time. We don't. We're constantly busy, and people can fall through the cracks, which is why reports like this can help you find them and get them back on track the right way. So what do I want to do? What is my plan of action when I find I have these 23 individuals that we haven't done anything with in the past 3 months or even longer? Well, I want to work with them. I got to get to them. I got to apologize profusely and tell them we're going to do better. So what is my plan? My plan is to find them. I've done that. My next plan is to maybe send out some sort of mailing that said we're going to do a better job keeping in touch. So what did I do? I created a template that's going to allow me to do that. So what do I do here on the home page on this dashboard? My little go-to list. Think of these tabs as file folders with a clear cover. And while you can look in there and work with them, sometimes I need to pull them out of the folder because I want all of the available options inside of SmartOffice. So here I have the list. Here I have all my functionality. I've already got a template created, a correspondence template, and I'm going to click on correspondence. And yes, no, I want all the contacts that are in my list. And maybe I should do that better. I've always been nervous about that one. So I like to tag them. And then that way, when I say all tagged, I feel much better. So we're going to do that. Let me go to the next one. And it says, all right, which one are we sending out? You can see I have done the demo letter before when I was testing it. But in this case, I'm going to change my option to the recipient's preferred communication. A lot of clients don't use correspondence, but even here I can say whatever I marked as their preferred method, that's what I want. So some may go to my printer, some will go out via email. SmartOffice will redirect it for you. And I'm just going to click next. And since I've created it, I'm going to go created by me. Here is my letter. I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to go next. Now remember, this is showing you why it's so important to have dashboard reports that can help you not just see the data or even click on the data, but pull your plan of action to fruition. And when I get here and I look at all that stuff, chances are my template says, I'm going to get in touch with you because that's the subject of my email. For those who are getting in emails, keeping in touch. I can even create a follow-up activity, go to the options and say, okay, starting in, let's say 3 days after these things are emailed or mailed or whatever, and with 2 days between each group and 5 people in each group, I want you to send out, put a task on whoever I assign it to. The subject is keeping in touch, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to not only send it or email the template. It's going to post it where it needs to go. It's going to create the follow-up activity, all my records, and most of those people are going to drop right off that report. Why? Because it's no longer 90 days or longer that they haven't had any kind of activity going on. That dashboard report gave it to me everything I needed as of that moment when someone hit that earmark of 90 days or longer. So that dashboard, I open it, I tag it, correspondence, calendaring is done, posting is done, all because I have a dashboard report that is watching what is going on inside my database. It monitors it for me. That's efficient, effective use of dashboards. That's why I said when they brought this thing out, man, that was a game changer. That was a game changer. All right. So let's talk about then a little bit about how we actually create these things so that other people, we can share them with other people. Again, remember you have to have the user right. Those that have the user, and by the way, all of you that all of you that are SmartOffice users, you can run reports and put them on a homepage tab. And all of you will have this little drop down. Those that cannot create the dashboard and assign them, you only have the first 2 options, add content or rename tab. The rest of you have the create dashboard from this tab, share it with the entire office. And for those of you that are in like an enterprise view, there's a parent and child office that would incorporate everyone. And then there's one to manage. So the one that says demo pipeline staff shared, that's because on that particular tab, we chose the option to share the tab with the entire office. But in this case, I'm just going to say create a dashboard. Does everybody need this tab with these reports? Let's say they don't. There's 2 or 3 people who are in charge of policy owner service or new business applications. So you would want them to be aware of these reports where we're missing people or it's been a while. So I just said create a dashboard. SmartOffice says, you got it. I come back and I say manage the dashboard. First of all, you got to find it. That's on my cute and quirky corner about dashboards. Let's come down. This is what is this? This is one my data integrity one. Data integrity. Oh, great. I've got 2 of them. Yeah, that'll work. So I've highlighted. It's down here, shows the 2 reports that are on there. I come over and I click assign. I click on the plus sign. It shows me the other users in the office. I can select who I want to have this report, or this tab, I should say. It's going to load their name. I'm going to close out here. I'm going to close out here. And now good old Frank, when Frank goes back to his homepage or Frank signs in, he's going to have that tab with those reports on there. Okay. These are great. These are really, really great. What a way to organize how I can find my information and keep on top of my information and work my information. And when you're taking a look at how to organize your office, I'm telling you, this should be at the top of your list. Yeah, I get a little carried away with this stuff, but that's okay. Because I wished I'd had this years ago when I was working at Prudential or Mass Mutual. I really do. I think of how much time I could have saved and how many more things I could have gotten done if I would have had this organizational tool and this information right at my fingertips. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. Last thing I want to get into, and then we're going to turn it over to Zoe about any questions that you might have put on chat. I'm calling this segment the cute and quirky side of dashboards. It has issues. Every module, and I mentioned earlier, even every piece of software has issues. I'm going to tell you my favorite issues. And I'm being nice, favorite, I would have said annoying, but favorite, we use the word favorite today. I can't arrange the tabs the way I want. And I know right now Zozu is going, wait a minute, you can alphabetize them. Yes, you can. And it's nice that you can do that. I'll put sometimes like numbers in front of them, 1 through whatever, so it kind of lines up with the way I want. But for any of you on the call that's in an enterprise office with parent and child offices, there's a hierarchy that determines who gets to go first as far as how the tabs are going to lay out. So it's just one of those things. It would be nice if I could go into manage the dashboard and just move everything the way I wanted it. You know, I want this one first, I want that one second, I want that one dead last. That would be lovely. Now, listen to this one carefully. If you have assigned a dashboard, like I did, the data integrity to Frank, if I decide later that, oh, there's one more report I want to put on this dashboard tab. So I go and, you know me, I'm going to go to the reports, find the report or create the report, run the report, get all my results if it's more than 50, and then put it on this tab. Frank will not see it. Now, if I did it on a shared tab, yes, everybody sees that. Everybody that has that tab and which is the entire team, they will see that additional report, but not if you have assigned them.